what pushed you into this to kind of say, hey, I'm all in on AI? You got certified, you're now teaching it. What was the pivot point there in your career that said, AI, I'm going to go this way?
You were part of it last year. I think it was maybe last year's hackathon. I do an ultimate AI hackathon. And I've been doing it this is year 3, I think, that's coming up. Yeah, year 3 that's coming up. I do it at other shows, and I do other kind of hackathon events, like speed prompting is a new competitive event, learning event I'm launching this year.
What does the fractional CMO entail?
Basically, a lot of times you go into these tech companies and they want you to come in and help them with strategy and brand. And then months into it, they start saying, we just need more leads.
Yeah.
That's what fractional CMO work is, being asked to do really high level strategy and branding. And then it just dissolves into, we just need more leads without any true product information or sales insights. It's up to marketing. That's fractional CMO work. What's that? Thank you.
These are dealerships that are talking about this, or just any type of business that you're working with?
No, it's not really dealerships. I don't do that work for dealerships, but I sit behind. I've done long tail and short tail projects as a fractional CMO, like a chief marketing officer, and it's usually for people I know and people in the business, and getting in and helping the organizations. But what I've learned from doing that for several years now is it's best to do it in small windows, like very hard stops. We are just going to do these things. We are just going to deliver on these things and leave it at that. I think the mistake of a lot of fractional people like myself, especially with CMO work, is we start working these open-ended relationships, and you start being looked at as you're the one to solve all problems, even though organizationally they may have other things that are impeding their progress. But the longer you can keep these open contracts, it just becomes, we just need more leads. And it's like, but they're doing B2B sales to like a market this big, right? So it becomes frustrating. So what I've learned from that and working, I've got certain clients that I work with like every year for 3 or 4 months, and we get shit done, happy with it. We get it to market, where that's it. The ask is simple, the ask is ideal. And if you just kind of open end, like as a fractional, work with people that way, it gets blurry, right? It's just because the lines get blurry, right? Because everyone's wearing a lot of hats. You're working with a lot of smaller companies, and they're trying to get, they're just trying to get their own nut. So, but so I'm not doing as much of that anymore, as open-ended as I was. So smaller projects on that, but I've got so many other things going on now that
you're a busy guy from what I see.
Maybe. I don't know. Yeah, it is. It is. It's a different kind of busy. It's a quiet busy right now, which is nice.
Good. I'm really thankful that you allowed me into the automotive cohort. And
the cohort, for the study group, sure.
I'm excited about it. I'm excited to learn. I mean, this is something I work with every day, multiple AI programs, but it feels like I'm behind, right? There's people like you and other people that I follow that they seem to have just this ironclad grasp on what AI can do, how to use it, how to manipulate it to your favor. And so that's kind of what I wanted to talk to you about today, if that's cool.
Yeah, absolutely.
Awesome. Okay. And just speaking with the audience here for the Dealership Fixit Podcast, as silly as a name that is, but, most of the people listening to this are dealership based, managers, owners, whatever, people that work with the dealership. So right at the top of the list, what I wanted to ask you is that, when it comes to smart AI agents, right? And smart can be used very loosely, right? If an AI agent sat in a dealership, a common one, for a week, what do you think they would notice? How would you turn that into kind of a plan or a win for the business? Or what would the AI agent be able to do for your average dealership in the United States?
You're not going to like my answer because it's too big of a question.
Okay.
Because you're asking one agent to look at an entire dealership and then go, tell me what you notice. So what AI is really good at is vague and questions with a lot of ambiguity in it. And that's exactly one of those, right? Yeah. So I would say back to you, it's actually not the right way to approach it. I would put a monitoring agent, or I would stick it on a department. And again, why I say it's too big of a question is because you want to set the task to be simple and straightforward. And so by saying, if an agent looked at an entire dealership, it's like, well, how long's a piece of rope? It could come back with a million things. But if you go, we're going to put an agent in every department based on like one thing at a time, like teach organizations and dealerships and 20 groups and all that stuff. The good stuff is like figure out the quick, fast wins. But that's not doing this. Like, look at everything and get back to me. It's like, let's just go look at one thing that we can layer AI on top of and see what it comes back and says, if I was looking at this. And it's eating an elephant a little bit at a time. It's not going that. So, I'm sorry I'm not giving you kind of like an answer maybe the audience or you want, but it's too big a question.
I think that's why
But this is going to set up more of what you've asked me later on. But this will set up more of our discussion, but it's way too big of a question. And I think that's why people get hamstrung with AI, is because it's this big fucking thing and everyone's like, oh no, like it's so over encompassing, and you're right. And it's moving so fast. So that's actually that's one of those questions that sort of weird people out, because it's like, you could stick it on there and but again, what is it looking at? You're not really, just go look at a dealership.
And maybe they're not sure where to
it's
start.
a nice building and there's a lot of vehicles or motorcycles or boats or RVs in the parking lot. Like, where does it start? Like, what's it looking at? From the top down? From the bathrooms? From the parts department? Right? So, but I think by the end of this conversation, Jacob, we'll uncover ways to maybe do that.
Well, I'm looking forward to it. Let's keep with that big picture for a second.
Yep.
AI. Right?
Yeah.
Are we just teaching machines to think, or are they just guessing very well? Right? Kind of help me understand, like, what is the real intelligence that these things are giving us? And one example I want to give you is that I watched a clip from Bill Maher, and he kind of had this opinion about AI, specifically ChatGPT, that whatever you ask it, it almost kind of agrees with you with whatever you're asking it, right? You can ask it the silliest questions and it'll say, oh, that's a very good question. Well, no, it's not, right? So, I mean, these programs, the large language models, which I think are the most maybe used product out there in the AI land, when it gives you an answer, I mean, what does it take to get it to be actually intelligent rather than just being a very good parrot?
Yeah, and the thing about it is, are we teaching machines? We're not teaching those things anything. Like, that's what everyone's got to wrap their heads around. It's like when ChatGPT 5 came off the shelf a couple weeks ago, they filled that release with all the information they want it in that release. It's not learning anything else, because what an LLM does is it's based on predictability and prediction, based on billions of examples they fill the platform up with. So to Bill's point of going, well, it's just going to give you, like, agree with your question. Oh, that's a great question. That's this. As you type into your platform, your ChatGPT, your Gemini, it's predicting what you're going to say. It's predicting what you're going to do. So I want to reverse engineer it. So the way you have to look at it is, an LLM is a new hire. So if Jacob Berry's at the top of the pyramid, Jacob Berry's got his dealership, and Jacob is the dealer principal. Jacob's been in the business for 25 years. All the knowledge is in Jacob Berry. And then right underneath Jacob is his CFO, maybe his general sales manager, his GM, like all of the executive, all of the leadership, then all of the knowledge is up here in the triangle. And then you're bringing in new staff, like real people, and those LLMs, they're all people and things you have to train. So you're not necessarily teaching it, but you're training it on what you want it to do for you. Part of that is you have to give it clear examples, good instruction, all of that stuff for it to do what it really needs to do. If you're going to ask it just a single, like, hey, I've got a question about this, you're just new Googling. Like, that's all you're doing. You're not doing anything else but like what I call new Googling. And that LLM is going to go to the bare bones, easiest search it can do to get you those answers. That's a great question. I'm going to go find the first top 2 or 3 search results, feed you that shit back. So you're not actually teaching it anything. You're just going, yeah, go find me this really quick, which it understands. But for it to be trained as a virtual assistant, as a productivity tool, you have to impart your wisdom into it.
Yeah.
So you're not necessarily teaching it, but you're training it, right? And I guess it's fucking the same. Sorry, am I swearing a lot for your audience? But in Canada right now, we tend to swear even more than we did before. You are training your account, right? You're not actually anything that you're plugging into your ChatGPT account. Yeah, it's learning from the information you're giving it. That information isn't going back up in the cloud, and ChatGPT isn't going, wow, Jacob wrote this killer prompt the other day. Let's get that into the model. None of that happens. It's not pulling anything. The only thing they monitor your stuff on is for like abuse or, malicious intent, or like, if they see something going on with someone's account where they're a bad actor, maybe they're looking, for safeguards that way. But once it comes off the shelf, it's done. It's learning as OpenAI has deemed it needs to do. So now you have to treat it like a new staffer and go, okay, I'm going to teach you everything about my motorcycle business or my powersport business or my auto dealership.
Yeah.
Plug all that into it. And then it goes, that's where the magic is, right?
You've been at this for a little while now. What pushed you into this to kind of say, hey, I'm all in on AI? You got certified, you're now teaching it. What was the pivot point there in your career that said, AI, I'm going to go this way?
You were part of it last year. I think it was maybe last year's hackathon. I do an ultimate AI hackathon. And I've been doing it this is year 3, I think, that's coming up. Yeah, year 3 that's coming up. I do it at other shows, and I do other kind of hackathon events, like speed prompting is a new competitive learning event I'm launching this year. But I think it was last year when you saw that, like, how many people we had in the room, like how many people and they were all new users, like everyone was Greenpeace. So everyone was kind of in it together. And I've been teaching audiences for 3 or 4 years now about the nuances between AI and automation, because several years ago vendors started coming out saying we're powered by AI, we're powered by AI, and the more you actually dug, it was just a lot of automation work, robotic process automation. It wasn't really AI. So I was coming out, as I've done for decades, debunking things and going, here, let's educate ourselves on what is what, right? So me talking about it's not new, but really looking at the crowd last year in the fall made me dig in. I've done a handful of certifications through GSDC. 3 years ago is when I started my kind of that certification journey, though, was with Vijay Institute, Adi Berea. And I was in an 11-hour workshop with him. I was tell this, I did this huge 3 years ago, this huge 11-hour workshop. But this summer, I decided to take the plunge, did a pretty intensive AI trainer certification. So I'm in that global faculty now to teach different groups and different organizations all over the world. But it's cool to really look at it from how do you walk groups of people through this the right way? Because to your point, like you said at the start, you're feeling behind, and there is this sort of speed at which this is going. So my passion for it now is, after last year, is like, I want to make sure that I'm helping audiences and organizations learn this the smartest way possible so they don't start tripping over themselves. Because as you and I both know, the tools go so fast that if there's fundamental things that I can get out into markets and help people understand and approach the right way, regardless of how fast it's moving, they can stay on top of it. So I've always loved teaching people. I've been in marketing my whole life and built software and kind of done all those things. And maybe it's more of for me, my last professional chapter really is like empowering people to really know this stuff and have fun learning it, because it really is. And you and I talked about this last year. It's kind of the first time with tech, like it's this all-inclusive, accessible platform that you can just sandbox and goof around with and learn while you're doing it. It's not like web HTML code or database programming. Like anyone can kind of leverage this stuff and spend some time with it the right way. You get some big aha moments. Yeah.
I think the most interesting thing for me, just from my perspective, is watching my wife, who's not into tech, and my kids, watching my wife and my kids use it, to answer general questions. Mm-hmm. And the biggest thing is wow, it just kind of levels up everybody. AI, you got to be careful with it. ChatGPT, you got to be careful with it so that you're not getting these errored message, right? These not real answers, or it's giving you an answer that is not the truth of what you're seeking. But 90% of the time, it's like, wow, you just leveled up, and all you had to do is, write a sentence in your phone and you got an answer and a full instruction on how to do what it is that you're trying to do, which is pretty crazy. But I want to kind of move into that. When it comes to using the tools now, a lot of your posts on LinkedIn, a lot of what you're teaching is prompting. So just real quick, tell us like what prompting is, and maybe just kind of the script on how you would start a miniature prompt when you're just starting out with these tools.
Okay. Going to blow your mind right now. Prompting is just a sexy word for instructions.
Okay.
That's it. That's all prompting is. It's like a bot is an agent is a bot. Prompting is instructions is prompting. You're prompting your new assistant to get to work and do some stuff. Prompting is just instructions. But a framework that I teach all the time. There's different ones, different ways of looking at it. But the one I like best for any of these platforms is R.I.P.E. Role, instructions, parameters, and example. So R.I.P.E., like a ripe piece of fruit, right? So what's something at your dealership that you want to solve? And I always say to my classes and my groups, like, keep it really simple. What's something, right? Like we want to audit the email list, right? Or like, it could be something simple. It doesn't have to be like,
we need more leads.
We need more leads. It is the thing of, find something really simple that, as I say it, find something that you do over and over again every day that just takes up a lot of your time, your productivity time, and that you avoid, right? Like I gotta build a presentation deck. I have to write, I'm responsible this week for a blog for the store. Like I have to write something for my department. Like it's something simple. Whatever it is, I always say, go back to R.I.P.E. framework, and your role is, what are you? You start your prompt by telling ChatGPT or Gemini or Grok, whatever you use, you start by saying you are this, because you want to define a role around, like, it loves being told what it is. So you are a content marketer that specializes in, you're a copywriter who's written for Powersport and motorcycle magazines for the last 20 years. You specifically focus on X, right? Like there's something specific about your role. Like you really love writing about this, blah. Right. Yeah. So this is your role. Then your instructions are, I want you to help me create, research, interesting facts on, give me a bike you love right now, Jacob.
2020 Street Glide Special.
Okay. So I want to find all the interesting nuance, like the things you didn't know about that motorcycle, right? Like go out and research and do this. And when you're finished that, like now you're instructing it, I want you to go research on this and find me interesting, not heavily known facts, right? Like just kind of like the interesting facts about that bike. After you find that thing, then help me put together an outline around that bike so I can review it. And so all of a sudden you're giving it instructions. Then the parameters are, once we've got that, once I approve it, then let's write a full 600 word blog post on that, right?
Okay.
So then the parameters, so that you set the role, you've set the instructions, and then your parameters, you go, like, I want it to be 600 words. I don't want you to use emojis. I don't want you to use flowery language like in the competitive realm of, or all that flowery, crappy AI language. But you say, I want the language to be straightforward and simple to read. I want a readability score of, I want you to set a readability score of 85. I don't want emojis. I don't want long hyphens. It's still going to put in long hyphens. You're actually going to have to do some human work to edit your stuff. And here's the thing, and I want it in our store's brand voice. See below. And then you paste in your About Us from your website, right? So now all of a sudden you've got this big, long, and when you paste in your example from your brand voice, here's all of a sudden you got this big, huge prompt just to write a blog post. But you're giving it so much that it knows it's got to go out and do some research. It's got to do the work of outlining it, but you're feeding it information you know is going to be useful for it to work faster. And the more you give it, the more you're going to get out. If you say, write me a blog post on that model, that year in model, that's it, you're going to get like just Pandora's box. It's going to give you something, but it's not giving it in your dealership's brand voice or your brand voice as a subject matter expert. Like, what are those other things? And even in the example part of it, you may even go, here's a link to a writer in the industry I love. who writes on bikes, right? So you're filling up this big prompt with just simple pillars, right? I got a role, I've given it instructions, I've given it the parameters, right? Like the word count, the readability, our tone of voice, and the examples are, here's the example of our tone, here's the About Us page from our website or our brand guidelines, and then here's some links of articles that we really admire these other writers. So there you go.
I like that. That's a really good answer. R.I.P.E. Role, instructions, parameters, example.
Yep.
Now, when you're looking at the different tools that are out there, right? There's probably a dozen now that could do these functions. I mean, Claude, ChatGPT, you got some image makers like Midjourney, Video, Runway, Perplexity. I mean, there's all sorts of different programs. What does Brent Weese's tech stack look like currently? What are you using personally?
Right now, first off, I'll say is a lot of organizations may already have like Copilot set up in a Pro because they use Microsoft Teams. So if you're a Microsoft Teams organization, I would say just start to add the Copilot professional version, like because it's already baked in, right? If you're a Google Workplace organization, just turn on the Gemini. Like I always go one level up and get into the Pro accounts, because if you're using free tools, you're getting free output, and it's not strong. You're getting like bare bones stuff, and we'll get into that in a minute. But right now, my tech stack is ChatGPT does a lot of my heavy work in Tascade, which is a project management software, which it's built on OpenAI, uses a lot of different agentic work, and they just released their kind of Gemini. They call it Tascade Gemini, like where you can like kind of one prompt massive project centers and agent builds. Like it's pretty nuts. I use that. My Zoom right now, I use the Zoom AI to collect my notes, right? So I use Zoom for my meetings. I know people have meeting transcribers, so that's built in, right? So I got my Zoom for my meeting transcriptions, so I can pull those into different prompts. Of course, I'm a Canva user. If I'm building things, I don't use Canva as like a Sora or a Midjourney or a Runway where I'm prompting it to build images, but I'm using their AI tools to do faster editing work. Kick out this thing, sync music faster, kill backgrounds faster, magic erasing. So I'm using their AI editing tools more than their creation tools. Gamma is a big. I use Gamma a lot. I use a few things, but really because I'm doing so much work right now, building outlines of like class curriculum and workshop outlines and things like that. I'm not really digging into a lot of the big, like heavy creative stuff like the Midjourneys or the Runways. I have those. Like I have those accounts, but my paid stack right now is pretty much along the lines of like I said, Tascade, ChatGPT, Zoom, Canva, Gamma. But again, like if I really dig into it, the folder's probably pretty deep, but the costs are low compared to the old days of like paying for Adobe Creative Suite. And then all the Microsoft stuff, and like you can go on the cheap. And I've even noticed that even all the image, like the Envato elements and all that stuff, like they're all moving into AI stuff. So they're unplugging themselves from all the other things they used to connect with, like Canva or WordPress, and now they're just everyone's pumping in like a lot of AI into like everything they do. But my stuff right now is pretty predictable, only because like I'm doing a lot of like writing and course planning, and so I'm just in my Tascade, my ChatGPT, like every day, like pushing stuff around. And I usually work kind of for me anyways, I do a lot of that work in like outlines, and then I kind of manually work those outlines myself, kind of reconstruct them.
Write out the rest of the thought.
Yeah. I've got a ton of tools, right? Like I got Veed and I got some other things, but yeah, like there's so many cool tools out there. But if you're just starting, because I think one of the questions you sent me was like, what would you start with? Just start with one LLM, right? Get a ChatGPT or use your Grok or your Gemini or your Copilot. Just get used to that, and then maybe in a couple months, go look at Runway or go look at Midjourney, right? Or your Sora, whatever is like already attached. Like go look at V or whatever it's called, right? Like the new stuff on Gemini, which is pretty neat. But just one little bit at a time, because all of a sudden you start going, oh, if I tack this to tack this to tack this, Like I try to keep mine working in some sort of a loop, So
Yep.
and there's a whole thing, like, without getting too far off, like the MCPs that are going to start connecting all of this stuff, like back in the day of like using Zapier to connect all of this stuff, like it's getting a lot more fluid now. So the connectivity between these platforms is going to blow out the doors next year.
That's one of my favorites, is being able to integrate AI myself with these, kind of do it yourself Zapier, workflows, and use AI within those workflows to do this or do that or do other functions, communication, assignment. It's been really helpful, and it's helped me kind of leverage my time back to where, like you said earlier, pick the thing that you do repetitively over and over and over, and let's use ChatGPT or some of these other programs to figure out a way on how to, streamline it, workflow it, or automate it, right?
Yeah, just get out of the gates with one thing. Just start get your feet wet, get the reps in on small stuff.
Yeah. And at a relatively low bar of entry cost wise, right? So it's not
absolutely. You can start on a free one, but I would recommend that within your first 90 days of using a free account, get your $20 out, right? Like you're going to spend it on some stupid shit anyway. So like spend it on stupid AI stuff.
Might as well get some work done, right?
Yeah, exactly. Instead of buying a pack of smokes, get yourself some AI tools. I don't know what people buy.
I don't think not many people are smoking anymore, but yeah, I got you.
Yeah, I guess not. I don't know. Like don't buy scratch and win lottery cards.
There you
yourself
go.
Some AI. There you go. Don't buy scratchers. Get some
Horrible
AI.
investment. Horrible.
Exactly.
Yeah. Getting back to the dealership side of things, right? So you've got your starter pack, right? Choose your LLM, or you're using one that's on a Google or Microsoft account. You're kind of chunking down, if you will. Let's focus on this one thing or this one department, and let's start working with this. Jobs and positions. I mean, what particular dealership store roles do you think can be supercharged by this AI? And not just marketing, but like, how can sales managers use it? How can the service guys use it? What have you seen so far when it comes to individual positions within a dealership using these tools?
I'm seeing, oddly enough, I'm seeing a lot of stores just getting their feet wet. There are some advanced users out there. So, and beg the pardon, I'm going to look it up. I think in terms of the roles, like first thing I'll say is, I think the assumption is a lot of the time that everyone's a lot farther along with this than we think. Everyone thinks everyone's using this like crazy and using it. I'm sitting in front of 20 groups and workshops all the time where most of the hands going, like I still have people in the room that go, I haven't even started using this stuff yet. I have no idea. But I was working with this guy from a parts department who was like the brains behind dropping in like all the stuff we were writing this prompt around. But he had never used it before. But he has so much knowledge about what he does because he's been around the business for so long. But there are a lot of people that still aren't using it. And I know there's going to be like, ego's going to go, well, our dealership, we've been using it for a year. We've been using it. Like, that's fantastic. That's great. But I still believe that over half of the stores still either aren't using it to their advantage, or their people are unaligned with how they're using it as an organization or as a team. But I think from a position standpoint, car dealership guy, he's got a big audience. But there was a dealer, God, forgive me, I can't remember his name off the top, but Florida-based dealer, I think, and he's very smart and very interested in what AI can do and what it can't do. He's running, I think, a BDC a full AI BDC. I think that's, because again, the one thing that came out, right, everybody was powered by AI for years now. And you go, what is your AI? And they're like, we have a chat bot that's going to answer phone calls and route leads. Like they all gave you the same thing. And no, like there's no harm and no foul in that. But like the amount of stuff I saw in the last few years was all the same stuff. It was doing the exact same thing. So because they were getting agents tuned up to do that work, I think, again, quick and simple. What do you need them to do? We just need them to do follow-ups, send out emails, send out chats. Like there's a lot of things that can be automated with like a smart AI setup. So I actually think BDCs are the biggest target for reducing overhead and people. However, I still think you still need to have human supervision over all of that, right? Like this young man who's like testing this out in his own stores with like, just a fully AI, like it's his monster, right? He's gotta make sure it doesn't like attack the village, and not that it would, but it's just like, it's anything you build, like you have to supervise it. Like this shit's not magic, right? It's not just going to be like, now that you've done it, it's just going to run fine. Like you have to look at it every day. You have to be, aware of like its own performance, right? Like you would a staff member. But yeah. I don't think any jobs or positions are at risk, except maybe because the BDC came in to solve a problem of like people on the floor not wanting to do follow-up and other things. And there's a lot of dealers, I think, out there that still sort of have a bug in their pants about, or what is it, bee in your bonnet, bug in your pants? I don't know. A bee in their bonnet about having to pay for people just to, like a business development center. Like, I get it. Like it's kind of an area where you've got two schools in this industry, all in the industries that deal with bikes or RVs or cars. My staff should be doing it, but they're not. So I've got to pay more people to do this work. Or no, we're gonna figure out how to close a floor and use different software and different things like a Next Up or whatever that actually help our people use their time more wisely when they're at work, right? So we don't have to actually add more and more people. So I think the BDC, because it was one of those things where it was built around human laziness, it can actually be scaled down again because AI can take those away, which is kind of too bad, but I think there's a lot of dealerships that are looking at that as a first place of entry for scaling vendor tools and vendor help, and with a mix of public tools that they're learning.
Yeah. Let me ask you about inventory management. You said you had a really experienced parts guy in your last 20 group there, and he had a wealth of knowledge that was helping you build a prompt, yet he never used it before. What do you think you can use AI for in terms of inventory management and parts ordering, major unit inventory management, pricing, all the things that go along with that?
I think especially in your world in power sports and like an RV and stuff, and like it's probably in automotive as well, but I was just doing a 20 group. I was in Idaho with a bunch of guys, and they were saying that the people that hold all that data don't normally give you those dealers full access to like the raw data, right? Am I speaking out of school here? Has there always been a bit of a disconnect about accessing all that data in its purest form so they can do work with it? Like I got it from RV dealers, because RV dealers have tons of parts and accessories and things that they can do. So we were working on prompts, and they were like, I want to take this data from this supplier and this one and this one and this one, and they're all laid out differently. They're all configured differently. So where their heads are blowing up in the RV world, for instance, is like, how do we centralize all of this data to one thing so we could send an agent in and go to this column, go down here, find this parts number, do this. It's possible, but I still think in RV, power sports, and automotive, I think the data silos that the companies have created still create a world of headaches. Yes. It's almost like you have to take this shit before you even give it to AI and build your own clean master database. Because I was watching guys the aha moment was like, okay, I know how to prompt now. I know how to build an agent. Now I'm going to throw all my shitty parts data at it and have it go, I want you to do, like, the ask is simple, right? Okay, you are this role, go do these things, here are the parameters. And it gets hung up on the data because either the CSV files are a little bit janky, there's certain things that aren't connecting because it's going into one file, but the other file, like, again, right, you know what I mean? If it's coming from different vendors and they've done the nuances, it all different, it's still going to create some problems. So we want the magic of AI to figure out all these data things right now. And unfortunately, we should be using AI to go, if we took these files, could you clean this up to make, it's that kind of work you have to do internally to get one great CSV file that has it the way you want it. But you've kind of got to do a bit of that footwork because it's magic. Like, you can, like, there's people talking about it that are smarter than me, like Bill Playford, and, Todd Smith, Brian Wynn, like guys that are touching data pieces all the time and throwing large amounts of it at it to see what breaks it, see what holds it up. And it's true. You can throw a lot of files at it and it's going to slow it all down. because it's just you've got to be really so specific with telling it exactly what you want it to do. And if the layout's clean and you're only giving it, like, say, just one file with everything you want in it, it's always the best way to go. Again, it goes back to even simple prompts. Simple data work, give it one file. Just get used to working in one file, analyzing it, or one piece of data. But as soon as we have that light bulb go on of like, okay, I see how to use this shit now, we immediately throw the kitchen sink at it. And then we go, well, why is this not working? It's because you've got like one text file and a CSV and an Excel file and a PDF. And it's like, all of those have different nuances against these LLMs. They all handle this stuff different. And they all have to go into the cloud and do different things with those files in order to bring them back into your account and work them. And they're all different. So that's a big topic.
Well, that's what I wanted to kind of dive into is like, tell me a little bit about the guardrails, right? So if a dealer's, following your advice and they're trying to organize all the centralized data in a CSV, but it includes, some customer data or some financials, or maybe they don't know that it's in this, column, AA, it's all the way at the end of the spreadsheet. I mean, what kind of guardrails should dealers be aware of so that they don't let the AI tools go rogue and potentially expose?
Yeah. First thing I do with that is like, and I tell this because again, with this part, I'm not the expert on this, but like customer information, like absolutely not. Like don't like, your account's secure, the Geminis, the Googles of the world, everybody's secure. But hey man, everybody can be hacked. We know that, right? It's not that there's bad actors out there like looking for people's personal AI accounts to see like what customer data. But if you want to do analysis on customer data, you can just make everyone anonymous. Like customer 1, 2, 3, like get all the personal stuff out, right? Like you can still look at numbers and like ROs and all that other stuff, but get all the personal stuff out, like make it anonymous. Financial stuff, I really wouldn't run heavy financials at it again, unless you're just like stripping out a lot of the main stuff. Like if you want to look at like, what's our expense report for, just all staff or whatever, like whatever that looks like, or customer things, is just get anything that is really telling out, like just make it as anonymous as possible. Yeah. It's almost like you're making a dummy data file, but it's actually your file. But just spend a minute, go into the columns that need to be cleaned up and strip out all the important stuff. You can still do analysis work with it, or ask it to give you sort of projections for the next year based on that data, but just get all the good stuff out of it.
Yeah, definitely be very careful with that. I haven't seen any issues with it before, but I'm sure that you've got a employee within the dealership or any business for that matter that maybe is exploring some of these tools and seeing what they can do with it. They are just export and upload from your accounting system to this, and it's
and this goes back to before you even start even talking about like what data should we be playing with, what should we be doing. Every organization or every team, I start them off on a Google sheet just to build like the briefs of what they want to do. But the most important thing everyone should do, and if they want to reach out to me on LinkedIn, people who are watching this, if you want to connect with me, I'll send you like an AI policy. You'd be crazy not to not have one right now. Like, what are you doing? How are you assessing vendors? Who's testing it? Who's approving what platforms? Like, just to have like a company-wide AI policy. I gave it to some dealers because I know a board I sit on, the company was, doing, they did a really nice job on theirs, but there's a lot out there that you should be covering your own ass. So have that policy. It's like we did that with social media, right? When social media came out, it's like, what's our company's social media policy? What's your company's CRM policy? What's our personal information? Like, what's our customer information protection policy? We have all those other things. They should have a policy in place. Like getting out the doors, because here's the thing. It's like dark tools, like what people like. Do you know every single person in under the roof of the dealership? If they are using it, what tools are they using? Right? They could be using Grok, they could be using this, which is fine. But if you're not already on top of all of that, going, okay, let's just stop for a minute, take a breath, and then go, all right, how are we as an organization doing this? Because if you're on our machines, on our clock, here's our policy.
Yeah.
Yep.
Thank you for that. Yeah, definitely. That's a thing to have in any organization, especially if you got people that are doing some of these functions for you,
Yeah. And there's people that are like under every roof are people that are geeking out like you and I. Like we're enthusiasts, right? We're enthusiastic about it. We want to learn more about it. There's people under every roof. Like I said, I don't think the dealerships, and in some cases, like large chunks of vendor teams as well, aren't using this stuff as much as maybe they would like or they should be. But there are people under every roof that may be using tools that like, or doing things with the tools that you're like, hey, you shouldn't be like, you're uploading customer data into that just to analyze. Like, good on you, but dude, that's customer information. It's like, that's like PII, right? It's crazy.
Recommend plugging into these.
I don't trust anybody who says we have our own proprietary AI and then can't answer a series of questions that I'm going to throw at them. So for everyone watching your podcast, go to my LinkedIn. I put a prompt in on how to evaluate and ask what questions, and then what you should be expecting back from those vendors. And Jacob will point you to it after. I think that's super important because if you're building on your own, the thing you have to understand is if you're building on your own, you're building your own LLM. Jacob and Brent go out, we're going to build Jacob and Brent GPT, right? That means we have to supply our own servers. We have to supply our own computing power. We have to supply our own SOC 2 compliance. We have to do all this stuff. And people build this stuff. And now we're doing API calls all day. We're doing all this stuff that costs us pennies or whatever. There's all kinds of costs there's all kinds of costs that come into play that some of these new developers like, oh, we're going to do all this stuff, or we're going to vibe code all this stuff. And they have no idea about security. They have no idea about guardrails or SOC 2 compliance or different things. There was like I think it was Teacup or some crappy thing that was made on AI, their own AI, and it released like everyone's 150,000 people's photos in the accounts because they didn't know what they were doing, right?
Yeah.
So I think that if a vendor's coming to you and saying it's our own proprietary, get your questions ready. Go to my page in LinkedIn, go find it, or like Jacob will post my stuff up in the show notes. How to get a hold of me? Just find me on LinkedIn and DM me. I will send you the prompt to evaluate any vendor and the questions you want to ask. Because I think in fairness to you, you need to be comfortable in the conversations you're having with a vendor. To the vendor, it makes you accountable. Like, this is the thing about AI is the dealers are going to get onto this anyways, and they're going to start using it going, hey, how do I talk to a vendor about this and what questions should I be asking? ChatGPT and Gemini are going to be happy to give you all of those things and the hard questions. So if it's black box, you should be peppering them with like okay, we're going to sit down then and we're going to ask you hard questions. And we've already got the answers we should be getting back. So if they don't line up, you're out. Like, how are you protecting us? I was talking to a vendor who builds on OpenAI. Like they build on OpenAI, they build on Claude, they build on Gemini. Like they use all the platforms, and they're like in with Anthropic in the developer pool now, like working with them directly. I would feel a lot more confident if I'm working with a vendor going, yeah, we're tying to Anthropic. We use Anthropic, or we're OpenAI, Azure, like in the cloud. Like those big LLMs are built like with all the guardrails as much as they can do, like provide the comp power, like all of those things that are just, that's why they're as big as they are, is because they've got the power and the security enough to, I think, make any organization go, yeah, like to the vendors, don't be afraid to go, yeah, we build on OpenAI. Taskade that I use is very transparent. We build on the OpenAI platform. Like, why wouldn't you? They've already done it. So you can take great stuff and then build your own on top of it. If I was going to build a product right now, I would be building on top of Anthropic's platform or OpenAI or Grox or whatever, right? I wouldn't be trying to build my own. It's too big of a thing and they're too volatile. And some people may disagree with me, but hey, man, if you can build it and make it super secure and bulletproof, then hats off to you. But I'm going to trust stuff that's built on established stuff.
I love it. Yeah. I mean, it's a big thing that, a lot of people are using now to check their vendors and kind of do a little peek behind the curtain, especially with ChatGPT 5, where it's got a thinking mode and a deep research mode, right?
Yeah.
So it'll take a couple minutes to answer your question because it's searching literally the entire internet for these answers. And I have used your prompt before to not only look at, the stuff that I provide, but also some of the, other vendors in my space. And what it brought back was some really great questions to ask them based upon what it found, things I never would have thought of. And so, my hat's off to you. I definitely will post that link in the show notes here so anybody can look at that prompt or just hit you up on LinkedIn.
Yeah, and hit me up if you run the prompt and want some more kind of takeaways on it, because that's one of the things like in workshops that I love showing dealers, is because in fairness to them, like I said, this is a really easy piece of technology to just start using and see what the results are and just sandbox and goof around with it and kind of see the power of it. But also too, I think it's one of those things where if you use it the right way, it's going to supply you with a lot of knowledge so you can have the right conversations with vendors, because there's a lot of salespeople coming into your door going like, well, we're powered by AI. Well, what do you use during the day? What AI do you use? What's your favorite prompt? Like even with salespeople, because they're so busy, like, well, how versed are you at AI? Because I would almost harbor to guess, and again, it's not, I think that it's underutilized inside vendors and inside dealerships. The public stuff, the stuff for your own productivity, the stuff for your own presentation builds or your social media work, like that kind of stuff. Not the product they're selling, but the tools you can use day in and day out for your own professional life, right?
Yeah. And a lot of it, I think, is on the creative side, right? So let's talk about our mutual friend, Mr. Rains there. He is definitely on the gas when it comes to image and video AI generation. What does your prompts look like when it comes to trying to create a picture or a video where it's not necessarily the right model, but it's like, I need to build this graphic. I want this type of video because it needs to be included in my marketing plan or my presentation.
You know, I won't beat around the bush in this. Don't spend a ton of time prompting for images, because by trade and by my vocation, I'm a designer by trade. Like that's when I went back to school at the end of the 90s into 2000, before you were born, Jacob, to be a designer. And so part of my acumen is to still design, because I have things I like the way I like them, and AI doesn't nail it. So, but I'm fascinated now by more contextual prompts to build images. So lately, I've found that the platforms are better than they were a year ago.
Yep.
Right? The platforms were better than they were 6 months ago. Like the image and video platforms seem to kind of really ramp up. I'm a little sketch on using it for, I was talking to a vendor, right? Because they're like, oh, here's an AI generated thing of an Audi this or a Yamaha that or Harley this. But it's like, are the OEMs cool with that? Because they give you like a brand hub with great pictures and great photography. So why would you spend my thinking for business is, why would you spend a lot of time using that for your website, for your brand, like your dealership website, when your suppliers may give you a lot of stuff to use? Because if I'm seeing something that's AI generated and it's not perfect, I'm a little grumpy around it. You know, if you know, like I said, it's definitely better now. But I would almost, and I'll throw this back to you because I know you and Sean Rains, who you're talking about, you guys really kind of go at the images and stuff. But in the time it takes you to prompt that perfect image, I've probably also finished designing what I wanted to do in Canva or in Photoshop or something else.
Yeah, you still like to do the manual process of building your...
I still like the manual process of it, but like I said, like I was playing in Sora the other day, just because it's an OpenAI piece on my account. And so I was like that big prompt I gave you about like, okay, you're a copywriter, you're doing this. I was doing the same thing, but I was also kind of scouring. I was using the agents to go, help me make a really big fluid prompt to like, I want a photorealistic picture of this. Help me develop the right prompt for Sora or for Midjourney. And then it comes out, and then I go over to like Rory's Flynn's page or, you know, his partner Brucker or whatever, and I go, okay, what are those codes in Midjourney that I need, and what's this? Like, it's still a lot of manual work to kind of Frankenstein the perfect AI.
Yeah.
I think it's really cool. I think there's a lot of cool stuff with it. But again, the videos, like, you know, you're getting these 10-second clips, and maybe some of the platforms are giving you a little bit longer clips, but you're building clips. You're still storyboarding, which is cool. It's actually allowing you to storyboard and generate faster than it would to shoot some stuff.
Yep.
So that's kind of cool. But think about if you had blending your ad hub stuff. So you're a Harley dealer and you've got Harley video. So what's the other stuff you could generate in AI to then cut up that 30-second spot with some other things that's, you know, and then you're actually splitting like your approved stuff with things that you don't have to worry about Harley maybe coming down and you going like, what the hell is that bike you just created, right? Like, what is that janky bike with 3 handlebars? And there's always something, right? There's always like a nuance. So I think with that, I would get really comfortable with your prompting, really comfortable with like, small, clean data exercises. I would get used to learning how to build an agent, and then kind of jump into to the photos and the videos, because it's really easy to make an image like, hey, make me a teddy bear, holding it'll give you anything, right? Like, but that, again, that's just new Googling. It's just like, it'll give you something, but it's giving everyone right now. There's like a lot of brown and yellow tone, cartoony looking stuff that's out there right now. Like, have you seen that stuff? Like, it comes out with like the lazy prompt image for things. It's better with text, but now everyone's got like there's a certain color scheme. At first it was blues and purples, and now it's like browns and mustards and some oranges and shit. Like, it's okay, but I think you really have to do a deep dive into understanding the nuances of those platforms. Like, follow Rory Flynn, follow Drew, like, follow Sean, because you guys share stuff that you're playing with. For those who are watching Jacob, like, hit up Jacob. Him, you listen to his podcast. Like, go bug him on LinkedIn and ask him how he, Jacob will share his prompt with you, right? Because I think that's the beauty of it. I think that's where image stuff really needs more Rory's and more you and more Sean and Parker's, all like people that are going, here's the prompt, here's how you do it. But those are big platforms. Like, you really have to, like, Rains will tell you, right? Like, Rains will spend an hour getting one 10-second clip of video exactly the way he wants it.
Yep.
And I'll spend 15 minutes putting together a video that I like for my social to promote a workshop or something that takes me less time, because I still want to design. I still want that part of my brain to function.
You do have a very unique design when it comes to some of the stuff that you post, image and video. I love it.
It's just, I need to do that. Like, I need to do that. I don't want to hand everything over. And that's why I don't let it write all my stuff. Like, I write most of my social posts. I'll outline long form stuff. I'll do some different things, but I've built some ghostwriter agents that help me do some things the way I like to do it, that kind of shortens my work. But there's if the agent can help me do 75% of it, and then I can do 25% of really deep, like, time spent with the finished product or getting it to finished product, that's what I love.
Let me ask about that. You brought it up a couple of times, and we kind of talked about it at the beginning, but an AI agent, just in simple terms, what is an AI agent? How do I build one, and what do I use it for?
Yeah, so the easiest way to explain it is we use AI to build automations now. And before, there were automations and AI kind of sat behind it. AI's been around since the end of World War II, right? It's not a new thing. But so automations were always the norm. But if you think about an agent this way, so you write a prompt, like we talked about that prompt earlier about the blog post.
Yep.
Here's that blog post. Here's what I want you to help me do. Basically, you could take that prompt if you had to do that over and over again. Instead of copying and pasting that prompt and changing certain things, you can take that prompt, you can open up, build a GPT in ChatGPT and go like configure, add that prompt into the instructions, and then just sort of slightly change up a few things. Like, what motorcycle do you want me to go research and help you outline, right? Like, ask the user this. So you're basically taking the prompt and you're putting it into a container that it does the same thing over and over again in this kind of perfect little box. So that way, like, when you write a prompt and you're like, wow, that prompt really gave me exactly what I wanted. And then 3 weeks later, you're like, oh, where is that prompt in my history that I used to write that blog? Take that and put that into an agent, because then it's standing alone and it's automating now all the time. So you've built a tool to automate your output, right? Your blog post. You've built a tool to automate your emails, right? Like, whatever it is, it's like just you're putting the prompt in an evergreen state. So that's basically the agent. The agent is automating something for you again and again and again. And what's nice about those engines are you can still go in and edit your prompt inside the agent and fine tune it, right? So what I do with agents, if I'm writing a blog post agent, like we said, okay, your role is this. You're a copywriter with this many years experience. you write on this. Before you do an outline or research anything, ask the user this, right? So I say, ask the user, what bike do you want to research? Great. Is there, any other details we should know about this? No? Great. I'm just going to go off and do that, because the rest of the prompt's in there. Once they answer that, move into the rest of the instructions and just follow along, because you've already done that as a prompt. So that way you're just changing the agent to ask the user, which is you or maybe someone on your team. You can share the agent with them, right? And you can send it over to Kyle, your buddy, and go, hey, Kyle, go use the prompt. And Kyle's like, oh, I want to, he goes, hey, would you, there's always these things called command prompts, right? Or these starter dialogues in the GPTs. It's like, what do you want to write about? And you're like, 2022 Harley-Davidson, whatever. And it goes, great. I'm just going to go research that and start an outline. Like, it's just doing the work. You give it an answer it needs to start. But the agent is just taking a great prompt and keeping it contained in house, so you can just use it again and again and again.
Okay, so the difference between an agent and, say, a thread, because a lot of the projects that I work on are those named threads, and I will go from thread to thread to thread depending on what I'm working on in the moment.
Yeah.
The agent will always do it on a prompt base every time you ask it a question, versus the thread that you can keep going on and on with.
Yeah, because when you go through those threads, what happens is you'll still hit a token limit inside the thread you're working on. So if you've been talking to your LLM and you keep talking, you'll eventually hit a token limit in that, and it'll start shitting the bed.
Yeah.
Never fails, right? So make small agents to do multiples of work, right? So if you've got a thread and you're like, oh, there's 4 different things I've asked it to do, or it's said, hey, Jacob, do you want me to do this for you? Take that part of it out and shove that into an agent.
Okay.
Because agents, you could build a project or put them in a folder, and just building an army of little agents that do lots of small things is going to speed up your work. They may have a lot of information in them, but they're all doing one thing, right? And some of these platforms are starting to go, like in Tasking, you can get agents to talk with each other, right? So by next year, a lot of these platforms are going to really open up that sort of agentic talking back and forth, where you can go, I'm going to build a research agent to do specific things. I'm going to build a copywriting outline professional. I'm going to write the review agent or whatever. And I'm going to put them all together and have them work in tandem while I go off and buy scratch-and-win cards at the variety store.
Well, I like the way that you put that. You're building a small army of little individual troops,
assistants,
they all have their own little specialty or their own little task, but you can go to the team, the troops there, and say, this is what I need done. That's interesting. Okay. Honestly, I've not used the agent stuff much. I've played around with it and maybe some of the earlier versions, but I haven't really revisited it. But definitely after this, I'm going to go build me a couple key players.
And with your and the other thing about agents is, when you get into, if you're a ChatGPT user and you go to GPTs, create, it also gives you a knowledge center. So in these agents you build, you can stuff them full of product brochures, right? Different links, video clips, they all handle all kinds of knowledge in the background. So you can say, always go to the knowledge base and look at this. So you can fill an agent up with not just your prompt, but a lot of file data, like spreadsheets. Don't try to figure out all of your data things in one agent. Have your agent do one thing with one piece of data. But if you've got, if you're a Harley dealership and you just want to build a blog agent that writes a blog twice a month, you could give it some SEO command, instructional, but you could upload every brochure that's in your current lineup and go, if I'm writing this, find write it on the, on the Roadster, whatever, right? You're the motorcycle guy. I'm not allowed to have motorcycles, but you know what I'm saying? You could load that up, and that agent goes, oh, okay, Jacob needs to write on the Roadster. There it is. There's a brochure. I'm going to pull some things out, and you can give it explicit instructions, simple instructions going, our readers are really technical, so lean on the technical stuff more than the lifestyle stuff, right? Based on your personas. Again, the more you fill its instructions up, the more you actually put the right thinking in it, in its sort of assistant brain for you. Because if I walk in the door, I'm a new, I just said, I know nothing about motorcycles. I don't, right? I really don't. They're cool. I know they're cool. But if I walked into like a Harley-Davidson dealership and they go, well, Brent's a marketing guy, he's going to go write some shit, I could probably go off on my own and over the course of a day write something. But then someone who's a subject matter expert, who rides them in the store, who sells them, who works with people, who services them, and go, Brent, like, man, you missed like 7 things. Yeah, but I didn't know. Because someone said, Brent, just go write a bunch of blog posts for us, right? That's the lazy prompt. Brent, go write us 5 blog posts. No problem. Be right back with that. But that dealership may go, man, like our customers are way more tech savvy than that. They geek out on specs. They geek out on performance data, like whatever that is. Like there's all of that intel that you can push into your prompts and into your agents that will make them sing, right? That's the secret sauce. It's your own stuff. It's your own collateral at your stores. What's on your websites, what you know about your customers, that's the secret sauce.
Stuff they've been building for years. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. It almost plays to people who've been in the business longest. Like, there's, people are like, I'm too old for this stuff. You're actually perfect for it. Like the longer you've been around, you're actually a gold mine of information for prompting. Yeah.
Well, one trick that I've found with that is, maybe our thoughts come too quick for us to write them out. And so one trick that I've found is ChatGPT on my phone. I've been able to hit the little microphone and just verbal vomit, all my ideas, all the stuff I want to talk to in spoken word, and it transcribes the whole thing. And I'm not stuck there trying to type out each word and I didn't mean that, delete. Usually we have a better time at expressing ourselves through our voice, and it works beautifully for me that way, for sure.
Nice.
All right. Well, let's talk about the hard question here. So let's say a business, a dealer, a guy like you, a guy like me, there's 2 different scenarios here. A dealer that does not use any AI, let's say for a year, while a competitor of theirs is all in. They're using the agents, they're using various tools, LLMs, all that stuff. How big is that gap in 12 months? And what would the catch-up plan look like for that dealer?
I think right now it's on both sides. I think there's vendors and there's dealers that are, I think on the vendor side, there's more vendors going like, we sat on our hands too long. So there's vendors in all of the spaces, like in any vertical, not just automotive and power sports or RV, like in every vertical, every industry, there's vendors going like, we've been cleaning, like either like fixing our own tech or working on different enhancements, but we haven't tied any AI into it, because most people got out of the gates with, like I said, like a chat bot, like what questions do you want answered? And the questions are just preloaded into the chat bot. So if it can't answer it, it's like here's an email you can send to, like it's, kind of bullshit. But there is a point now where I know there's vendors that are sweating out, like 12 months ago, we should have been more on top of this. And they're scrambling to build. And what they're doing, so from a vendor side, and I'll get to the dealer side, but what some smart vendors are doing is they're hiring in AI developers. Like people that have gone to school to do exactly this, write this kind of code, write Python to do this sort of thing. I have a friend who's a vendor who said it's the smartest thing they ever did. And in 3 months of having proper AI development teams inside, the vendor said they're so much farther ahead. From a dealership standpoint, like I said, I still think there's a lot of stores. Working at a 20 group, I was in Idaho last week with an RV group, and there's a super user in there. And even from their fact, when I said, like, what's your policy doc? And they're like, we don't have one. But he does more with it than I do, right? Like just like one of the heads of the group. But it is that I think that between now and then, if you don't have just a concerted effort to go, let's get our people trained up, I think that the amount of content that you could put out on your site, the things you could be doing for your site, that these like AI searches and all the different nuances and the different things that are happening. I think that the dealerships that are in it now by next year will be a lot smarter with how do they use it for SEO? How are they using it for regular content or smart social, right? Like the different things. How are they empowering their team to actually put more out there? If they're really smart about it, then dealers in their market that aren't touching it at all, I'm going to wait till next year and wait to see if this bubble bursts. It's not, because this shit's been around for decades and decades and decades. They're just from a content and exposure standpoint in their markets, I think they're just going to be behind. And there's no amount of like, lead generating, like we've got this payment for the next 12 months or whatever, it's going to pull you out of that hole. So for those dealers that are behind, if they wait another year, but if they just happen to wait another year and they just didn't know how to get out of their own way, and all of a sudden it's like, let's say it's Q2 of 2026. Let's say it's just around the corner. I would just say, like, I would invest in someone like myself. I'm plugging myself, but I would get someone certified like myself who understands how to get them out off the runway the right way, because the scramble sucks, right? If you're scrambling to do this and it's just like, let's just try everything and we don't have any sort of fucking process. It's just like, let's just go 1,000 miles an hour and get everyone trained up with someone who's not going, well, wait a minute. We're not even going to touch a fucking tool until your policy is developed, until you know how to write a proper technical brief of something you want to build in AI, which I call like a pilot canvas. Those are the things you get out. You got to get people walking first, right? And that scramble of like, we're behind, we got to get this going. That's why I geek out on this, because I want those organizations to get the right steps going, instead of just, because as you and I know, and we've talked about this stuff moves so fast that if you don't have someone kind of getting you linear, it's going to take you another year before the dust settles and you still don't maybe know what you're doing, or 3 people in the building do. It could be a bit of a nightmare. But again, it's so easy to learn. Like, this stuff is so easy to adopt and learn than any other tech that any sort of dealer had to use before, that the curve is really fast. Yeah. So that's the good news. The good news is if you get out of the gate the right way in an organized fashion, the curve's fast. So it's not doom and gloom.
Well, there it is, folks. Start somewhere, right? Now,
start somewhere.
You've been running these workshops and study groups. Tell people how they can, get some interest from from you on that. How do they join? How do they follow you?
Yeah, so follow me on LinkedIn, of course. I'm pretty easy to find. I've started doing these cohorts, these study groups, share and study groups that you're going to be taking part of this Thursday night, whenever this runs, in a couple of days. That's sort of, I just ran one earlier in the summer for 8 weeks, and we're going to do this one for 6 weeks. And I keep the numbers to like consistent to about 20 people in the room, along with instructors. And the instructors are friends of ours, people we know in the industry that come in and share something really cool. But I sort of drive the curriculum and how I want things taught and how I want things discussed. It's an hour of everyone's time. We do it at night, because trying to do this stuff during the day, everyone bails because they've got work stuff to do, and work always interrupts everything. So we do it at night, but it's a way to go get a snapshot of little things. So, and right now what I do is I bring in, a handful of dealers, maybe a few vendors, people I know in the vendor set that are like, everyone in this new group coming in, with the exception of a few people, everyone's still like, I'm a 3 out of 10 on knowledge and usability. It's like, so everyone, we're keeping everybody in this group kind of at the same level, and we're going to level them up together. So my hope is that I'm going to take these 2 pilots and put the learning together to go, okay, these are sort of the out in the wild, get this sort of out on the road, go into different markets and just go, hey, I'm going to bring a team of educators in for 1 or 2 days so we can get together and actually work, not sit on a panel and fucking talk about this stuff. Like, let's hack some stuff up and let's learn how to use it as a group. So like that in-person learning. But this is a good way of I'm using it to study the users. I'm using it to study the dynamics of like who stops coming right away. And I have really hard rules on these study groups. Like, you miss 2 in a row and I pull you out. Like, you're gone. Like, if, camera's on, like I'm not mailing the stuff in, but I am kind of watching the behavior of the cohort each time. You go, okay, this is, so it's more of like kind of a human experiment as well, not just the AI one. But it's cool because everyone on the last one, really everyone learned something, even though they thought, like a couple of people thought, I'm pretty advanced. And, we stumped them on first class, like on stuff. They were like, I don't know what an example is on this right framework. It's like, it's easy. right? But again, it's just getting people into a framework and a formality of using these tools a certain way. So it's a lot of fun, and everyone gets a certificate at the end if they do their homework, and it's just something cool to be a part of. And again, it's, as you and I have known for the last couple of years, I want to add more people to this group of enthusiasts that we kind of talk with each week and each month when we're goofing around with stuff, right? That's the goal.
Well, I'm certainly a fan of all the stuff that you've been doing, and I cannot wait to join our first little session. And it's coming up very soon. So
tomorrow night. Tomorrow night.
Tomorrow night. I will definitely report back to everybody, kind of what I learned and some of the steps that we went through to advance our skill set when it comes to AI usage, and really looking forward to it. So if anybody's interested, they can get a hold of Brent on LinkedIn. He's very active on there. He's with Idea Meet Plan, and he's just a marketing genius when it comes to all these.
Not at all. But I like you threw me. I would do this. I wanted to ask. You threw me like your last question. Can I answer that one?
If I gave you 15 minutes in a dealership next strategy meeting, what would you use AI to make the session sharper, faster, and way more useful?
Yeah. I love that question, and I thought about it. I wrote it down this afternoon. Here's what I do, because I thought you would like this.
Okay.
So what did I write down about that? Yeah, I said I would come into the room and I'd sit quietly for the first 5 minutes and prompt what I wanted to present into Gamma, which is a presentation tool. So I wouldn't say anything to the room, but for the first 5 minutes, I would develop my prompt. I would type it in front, not saying a word to anyone. And I would be prompting Gamma, which is a presentation tool. So I would put everything I wanted to do in the strategy meeting for that last 10 minutes I had into Gamma, and then I would run it. So the whole presentation in the first 5 minutes was prompted and built. And then I used the last 10 minutes to present what I wanted to talk about. And then I would leave. That's why I use that my 15. That's how I use my 15 minutes. Because I love that question. And I was like, how would I do it? But I would be showing them, because in real time, here's an AI platform. Here's a tool you can use for your productivity. And I wouldn't say anything. I would just be using the tool and let it run in front of them. Like if I plug in the screen, it'd be up on the screen. And then I would present what I just prompted and built.
I think the old saying goes, show me, don't tell me, right?
Exactly. But that was like, oh man, I gotta get something cool for Jacob on that one. I like that question.
I love that. Thank you. I almost left it out of this one.
LinkedIn and ideameetplan.com. Got an AI workshop page there too. I'll send you the link to Jacob for that one. You want to post that up. If people need me, if people want to get a series together with their people. Like I said, learning in person or learning as a group virtually, concentrated, focused in, like you'll see tomorrow night. You just get so much more out of it.
Yeah. I'm looking forward to it myself. So on that note, we'll wrap. Brent, thank you so much. I can't wait to see you again at the next event, and looking forward to tomorrow's cohort.
All right, pal. Thanks.
Still guessing what to pay on a used bike? Still holding aged units that just won't move? It's time for a real system. Moto Hunt's ultimate used inventory playbook shows how the best dealers are finding better inventory, pricing trades right, and turning used bikes faster with fewer mistakes and more margin. It's short, real, and free to download right now. Visit dealers.motohunt.com to grab your copy or check for the link in the notes.